Everybody wants to have early access to the next big thing. And a lot of people are talking about quantum computing as the next big thing. So I'm going to try and break down looking at quantum computing as an investment right now and how it could be a really good investment in the future. Now, the first thing, before I get into this video, I'm not really going to go into too much information about what quantum computing is. A, because it's very hard to understand, and B, because I don't fully understand it. It's got quite a lot of physics in it, and it's a very complex subject, and I don't even think the people who work in it fully understand it, if I'm honest. But there is a really good video that uses quite a lot of images and kind of animations to show you. It's a similar one to the infographics show or the infographics. I can't really remember what it's called. I will link the video somewhere, either in the screen here on a tag, or I'll link it down below, or I'll just do both. So is it the future? Well, yes. Hands down, yes. It pretty much has to be the future for a few kind of main facts and a few main points. As computers get smaller, they become more subject to the laws of quantum mechanics. And those laws, based on how computers are set up just now, aren't good. And with quantum computers, they actually use the laws of quantum mechanics to make them faster and be able to perform better. So quantum computers could revolutionize how computing is done. But there are a few big problems with it just now. And I'm going to break down those problems. So the first problem with it is the fact that quantum computers aren't really practical. They require massive amounts of energy, and they also require to be at close to absolute zero, which takes quite a lot of energy, surprisingly. So they're not that practical in the sense that I can't use it as an everyday thing. It's not like I can have something on my desk that's a quantum computer and it can perform tasks that I would kind of need it to do. That's not really where they're at. But if you actually look in the past, computers were these massive big tower things with like storage. I think if you look back in like the 1960s or 80s, I'm really not sure about the actual date, but yeah, computers used to be these massive things and they weren't practical. It wasn't until Apple came along, or I believe it was Apple anyway, and they gave us the first desktop that you could actually have on your desk as like a home computer. That was the time when computers became mainstream and popular. So if they can do that with quantum computers, now I'm not saying that's going to be anytime soon or whether that would be necessary, but yeah, that's something to make quantum computers practical. Most kind of common computers are fast enough to do anything we would require them to do. So kind of creating something that has so much power, requires so much upkeep, requires so much attention and precision to work, to do something that we can already do, isn't really practical in that sense. So that makes quantum computing really, really hard to sell. And the only companies who are actually working in quantum computing, they're not there yet. It still has quite a lot of issues. It has quite a lot of things to work out before it is there. And it's at a stage where it works 100% of the time, or at least 99% of the time. There's still a lot of issues in comparison to kind of conventional computers. It's just not there yet. But if I actually think of it as an investment point of view, in terms of the long term, it's much better to be in the ground floor of something than coming onto something later on. It's a bit like investing in Apple. You would want to invest in Apple before it became massive and big. Or Amazon. If you could invest in Amazon in like 1999 or 2001, even before the bubble, like yeah, still it would be pretty damn good, wouldn't it? So in terms of quantum computing, if you can get in on the ground floor of quantum computing, then you've got a really good potential of getting really, really wealthy in the future. But the trick is actually trying to pick a company, or the company that is just going to revolutionize quantum computing. And that is incredibly difficult. And to be honest, I don't even think the company that's going to revolutionize quantum computing is there yet. Now it could be. I could be so wrong in that sense. But there is a few companies nowadays that are actually working in it. And I'll show you a few of them so that you can actually have a look and see if it might be an option for you. Because if quantum computing becomes revolutionary and is introduced and becomes quite common, it's not just going to be one company that owns quantum computers. It's going to be quite a lot of different companies. You have IBM with their quantum computing. Now, they actually do this with part of their cloud services, but as it says, it is quite expensive to run. Like, scalable, if we go down, I thought there was a picture of it, but there's not a picture of it. Damn it. I found a picture of it. It's not really something you would want on your desk, to be honest. But yeah, this is kind of what a quantum computer looks like. And IBM is just one of the companies, so let's actually have a look at if it's an option to buy into IBM. Currently trading at about $131 per share, which is actually pretty good. If we actually have a look at kind of how it's been performing over the past year to date, so this is just this year, if we actually have a look at the past year, it's been pretty steady and consistent. I mean, it did have the kind of same drop that a lot of other companies did, but if we have a look at the max or the lifetime, yeah, it's been on pretty steady increase, and it's not even at or anywhere near its highest point. So this could actually be quite a good option. Now, the other thing I actually quite like about IBM is the fact that it has a 5% dividend. Yep, 5% dividend per share. That's probably one of the better ones I've actually seen. And its earnings per share is pretty good at 8.82. So that is just one of the companies that is working on quantum computers. So let's have a look at another one. You then have Google. Google have claimed to have achieved quantum supremacy, which is just when a quantum computer beats conventional computers or conventional supercomputers in a particular calculation. But remember what I was saying, speed is not everything. So Google's stock price is around 1900, which isn't exactly accessible for most people. Now, if you are interested in getting into Google, Google has quite a lot of other services that kind of allow it to pursue quantum computing as another avenue or another kind of futuristic source of revenue. So this could also be quite a good option. And considering it has earnings per share of 51, yeah, it's doing quite well. It's just more about that kind of how accessible it is. So this is Atos. This is a European-based company. And the reason I was looking at a European-based company is because I'm, well, European, and it's easier for me to invest in European companies. This was another option that I was actually looking at. And if we actually go and have a look at what the share price is selling at, they're around 66 euros per share, which is easier for me because I don't actually have to pay the conversion charge. But they are actually still a pretty good company by the looks of it. They have cloud services and they offer other computing services for, well, it's very specialized computing services. But they do have earnings per share of 4.54, which is not actually that bad. This was just a company I was looking at. I'll need to, if I was actually going to invest in this company, I would need to do a lot more research than what I've done. This was just one of the companies I looked at in terms of when I was looking at quantum computing. But yes, I think this video was probably dragged on for a bit too long. If quantum computing is something that you want to get into or you're interested in, I really do recommend you go and have a look at the video I've linked down below, or I will link it again somewhere here, and you will probably have a better understanding of what it actually is. But in terms of an investment and an investment in the future, it's up there. It's up there almost like electric cars and self-driving cars and space travel. It's important. And it's probably one of the most underrated important things, I think, out there. So yeah guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, please help me out and like the video. But thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.